Good afternoon. My name is Roman Osegali. I want to talk about the Nigerian 2023 national budget and the economy. Did you know that a well-planned annual budget of a country helps the government to ensure economic stability and growth? And the budget is the main and critical stimulus for economic expansion annually. It means the bigger and more balanced the budget is, that is, the less trade deficits, the higher the economic expansion. Did you know that from the 2014 budget to the 2023 budget, the Nigerian budget has increased from 4.70 trillion naira to 20.51 trillion naira, an increase of 336.4% in 10 years? And why 2014? The oil boom of the 2000s ended in 2013, and Nigeria started recording trade deficit as far back as 2014. From a budget of 4.7 trillion naira in 2014, reaching 9.12 trillion naira in 2018, then 13.08 trillion naira in 2021, and eventually 20.51 trillion naira in 2023. So why does the budget not have major economic impact annually? It is simple. It is only when you convert the budget to US dollars using the annual official exchange rate in the budget that you get to see the realities of why the economy cannot expand. While Nigeria is a rich nation in terms of mineral and human resources, Nigeria is a poor nation in terms of wealth creation. In 2014, the dollar equivalent of the budget was 29.34 billion US dollars. In 2015, 27.23 billion US dollars. In 2016, it was 30.76 billion US dollars. In 2017, 23.93 billion US dollars. In 2018, 29.90 billion US dollars. 2019, 29.25 billion US dollars. In 2020, 30.03 billion US dollars. And in 2021, 31.89 billion US dollars. It wasn't until 2022 that the budget crossed the 40 billion mark for the first time in history, reaching $41.74 billion. And then the 2023 budget, which stands at 47.15 billion US dollars. Compared to the Naira value, which increased by 336.4% between 2014 and 2023, the dollar equivalent only increased by 60.7%. The trillions of Naira we hear deceives us. From 2014 to 2021, the budget hovered around the same figure, from 29.34 billion US dollars to 31.89 billion US dollars, increase of only 8.7%, an average of 29.04 billion US dollars in 8 years, while population increased from 176.4 million in 2014 to 213 million at the end of 2021. Remember that government does not have all the money to run the budget. There are projected revenue and budget deficits. Average budget from 2014 to 2023 is 32.12 billion US dollars. Average projected revenue is 23.69 billion US dollars. That is 73.7% of budget. And average budget deficit of 34.6%, while 2023 has a budget deficit of 52.65%, which is more than the revenue projection. Because the Naira has lost so much of its value over the years, the trillions we hear deceives us. To further explain how poor and broke the country is, of the 47.15 billion US dollars equivalent of the 2023 budget, only 47.35% is projected revenue. That is 22.32 billion US dollars from both IGR and oil, which means 52.65% of the proposed budget, that is 24.82 billion US dollars, will be financed through borrowings. To further understand the problem, let us compare the three largest economies in Africa: Nigeria, South Africa, and Egypt. According to the World Bank, Nigeria's population stood at 213.4 million at the end of 2021. South Africa was 59.4 million and Egypt 109.3 million. The population of South Africa is only 28% of Nigeria's population, while that of Egypt is 51%. According to the World Bank in 2021, Nigeria's GDP was 440.83 billion US dollars. That of South Africa was 419.02 billion US dollars, and Egypt was 404.14 billion US dollars. This is where it gets interesting. Nigeria's 2023 budget is just 47.15 billion US dollars. That is 34.5% of South Africa's 136.6 billion 2022-2023 fiscal year budget and 42.5% of Egypt's 111 billion 2022-2023 fiscal year budget. Compared to South Africa and Egypt, Nigeria's budget per capita is just a mere $221. What this means is that the Nigerian government will spend an average of only $221 on each person in the country in 2023, while South Africa will spend $2,300 and Egypt will spend $1,016. Without the appropriate budget size, the economy will continue to struggle. And to make matters worse, over 70% of Nigeria's meager budgets are spent on recurrent expenditure and not investments. In 2020-2021 fiscal year, South Africa, with a population of 59.4 million people, generated $85 billion in taxes. In 2021, Nigeria generated 6.4 trillion naira from taxes. That is a mere $15.62 billion from a population of over 200 million people. South Africa will be spending $16.4 billion on health and another $27.96 billion on education in the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget. South Africa's education expenditure is more than the total revenue projection in the 2023 Nigerian budget. The Department of Health budget of New York State for 2023 is $203.4 billion. To be able to expand and unleash the potential of the economy the size of the Nigerian population, Nigeria needs a budget that can invest a minimum of at least $1,000 per capita. And with the population projected to reach 215 million people at the end of 2022, Nigeria needs a budget of nothing less than at least $215 billion. And the only way to achieve that is to go back to productivity. The more productive a nation is, the more taxes it can raise. The Nigerian budget is more like a drop in the bucket, and subsequent governments over the years have failed in converting the vast mineral and human resources to wealth for its citizens. We must move away from consumption to productivity to be able to unleash the potential of the Nigerian economy. Thank you.